Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
It is 6:30.
6:30. Time for World's Greatest Podcast.
Yep. And I also like
I'm
your
going to keep
shirt,
saying
though.
that joke, though. Nobody will ever get it because it's 20 years old. Like you haven't said that in 2 years.
Yep. So tonight I want to talk about self-improvement. Specifically...
I thought we were talking about self-improv. I am not prepared.
Just yes and me, okay? I guess that wouldn't be self-improv. That would just be me improv. See, I just no-anded myself.
Yeah. And self-improv, for those who are curious, is generally referred to as fooling, as in like, you know, the Middle Ages fools.
Yeah.
Just fun little sub-genre of improv.
That is riffing is what I would... Yeah. But
Not necessarily improv when you're riffing, though. Like improv implies character and story, not just ad-libbing a joke.
Okay. Occupation fool. I got you.
Occupation fool. I would use the final E just to fuck with them.
Yep. Anyway,
I get your little Carlin reference. Yes,
self-improve. Yeah. Self-improvement. I wanted to talk about it because
you suck.
Well, there's one thing that I'm currently wanting to change about myself. I think I'm better than I was, but I need to get better than I am about. And so I was thinking, this might be an interesting topic to talk about. So let me explain the problem.
It's a very Gen X-y problem.
The fact that I have a problem with it, though, is not Gen X.
Right. Having the problem is Gen X. Recognizing it is growing out of Gen X.
So I grew up in a family where we did a lot of what I would call like sitcom stereotyping. Like I lived with two women for a while. Yeah. Yeah, no, we there was like a lot of our humor was, stuff that you'd be stereotypical humor on a sitcom. So, and one of the big things was like this idea of like, my nagging bitch of a wife,
wife is a ball and chain.
Right. Wife is a ball and chain, even though like my dad has always done it. And my dad has always been very open with us about the fact that he loves my mom and, he's just done that.
That's where the humor he was taught. Humor comes from there.
Right.
Especially when you're not an inherently funny person and your humor comes from external sources that you repeat and incorporate. It's easy to get bad humor things like that.
Yeah. And I think
especially
for a long
when it wasn't
time,
considered bad back then. Like nobody at the time would have thought he really meant it. It's just understood that's a joke you make about your spouse, which is obviously not a good joke, but at the time nobody would have thought it was true.
Right.
Necessarily.
And so I kind of grew up on that. And I will say, like, I think that, and this is probably a Northeastern thing, I think you could probably attest to this, but like complaining about stuff is kind of like a thing that we all do as jokingly, like in the Northeast, right?
As a Jew?
Yeah, exactly. So like there's this, idea of like, my wife can't cook, or my son's lazy, and I've seen it in myself. And Sarah was very sensitive to it when we first started dating, and did not like it. And so I think I was better at it at first. Fast forward 6 months off of the
quick Sarah question.
Sure.
What is Sarah's family unit made up of? Like you have a sister, no brothers. You have one sister, no brothers. What was Sarah's growing up?
One sister, no brothers. She has her mother and father were, and for a while her grandmother lived with them.
Okay. I just always have a kind of a feeling that there is more making fun of mom when there's sons in the house because it's us versus them. And I wonder if that has something to do with her not growing up with that joke and being particularly sensitive to it, as she should be. I'm not slamming her sensitivity, but being aware that that's not cool. Like I didn't grow up being told that was good, and it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think there's also like a bit of when you get into a new relationship, your norms versus their norms, there is some melding.
Yeah, try marrying an Indian when you're that were raised in North Carolina when you're a Jew from New York. We had complete culture clashes. Right.
And so that was part of it. And I think that for a while I adapted well to it. And then I think that she isn't as upset by it anymore because she's witnessed it for 15 years now, even if it wasn't from me specifically. Mm-hmm. And then also I think I've fallen back into it and like slowly like fallen back into it.
And so actually, I interrupted you too much, so we got off topic. So you didn't really clearly state your issue right now with yourself is
that I complain too much, and it's not just Sarah. It's I think I'm I got a 10-year-old. I think that I am getting that from myself, and I'm seeing two things. Like we see a lot right now online of people talking about that problem. With like, do these men even like their wives? And I'm like, oh fuck, I don't want people to think that about me. Like, I don't want. That's part of it. Is I don't want people to think I dislike Sarah. I love Sarah. She's my favorite person. Logan might be tied. You're top 20. But like, I don't want people to think that. So I have to kind of go, and then and I get that. I get why it's becoming a thing to correct that online and people saying that. I understand it, but I also know a lot of people that do it way worse than I do it, who I'm like, no, I know for like my dad doesn't do it worse. I don't know that he does it worse than I do anymore. But one of Sarah's best friend's husbands complains about fucking everything, but he loves his wife, he loves his kids, but he bitches about them and he bitches about this generation. He's we are a bitchy, like a complainy kind of society, New Englanders and New York Jews, and
I can tell you what broke me of it.
Yeah.
So for me, and you to a large extent, so dear podcast listeners know this about Mike and I. We communicate through comedy often. Mm-hmm. Both of us, our first impulse is a joke, and we have to kind of check the joke sometimes to say something that's not a joke.
Yeah.
I do. That's a tough one. So when I first started doing improv, when I first started learning improv, I was just a teenager. I was 13. I was 12 actually when I first started taking improv, and I was not great at yes and. Like I would do because being a sarcastic was my natural nature, and I would do a lot of negative things, and I would get kind of called out for it, but side coached around it a lot, but it never became second nature when I was young to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But then as I got older in improv, I started cutting off the sarcasm at least. And I remember in my second or third show with Comedy Sports, which is now Comedy Works in this area, I was on the bench because it's a sports thing. You're on a bench or you're on the field. And I turned to my buddy Rob and I said, this is killing my comedy off stage. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I was at work the other day and I was squatting in the executive director's office, sitting in his huge back leather chair, like just envelops you. And somebody popped their head in the office while I was working there and said, hey, how do you like the director's chair? And I wanted to make a sarcastic comment, but I bit my tongue and I was like, it's good. It's fine. Because I have no joke because my sarcasm was cut away. And Rob said these words to me that changed everything. He said, that's where you over-accept the reality for your joke. So they say, how do you like that chair? And you go, it makes my ass feel great. Because that's your joke instead of sarcasm. You over-accept. And that and just being an improviser for the next 20 years, learning to over-accept the positive to be funny and just overemphasize the positive instead of looking for the negative. So instead of looking for the complaint, you look for the overdoing the positive, which is important in improv because you can't be negative in improv because negative takes you in a decreasing circle and kills a scene where positive brings it up and bigger and better. So that helped me a lot in my personal life from my expressing myself in all ways because the comedy and my expression are the same thing. So being positive because that's better for improv made me more positive for in general. Now I communicate.
That's good information. I will say, I had not that it was with Sarah or this particular issue, but I did have a problem where a big reason why I got into comedy. So I loved George Carlin, but I got really, really bullied in 7th and 8th grade. and I was listening to George Carlin, and I was listening to whatever stand-up I could get my hands on, and and going into freshman year of high school, I was like, I'm going to reinvent myself. And I'm gonna, there's a lot of new, like, it was like 90% of my class was new people that I had never met. There was like only like 10 to 15 kids that I knew from, middle school.
Moving from Catholic school to public school?
No, it was just Catholic school, Catholic school to Catholic school, but because they're limited, so like half the kids from my middle school went to one town, two towns over, and we went to one town, two towns in the other direction or whatever.
Okay, so
just based on geography,
you just had a better mix from a bigger pool,
right?
Yeah.
So when I went into high school, I was like, I'm gonna change, and what I'm gonna do is, no one's gonna be able to bully me because I'm gonna make fun of myself.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna do it, and it worked in the short term.
Yeah.
What it did in the long term is it created a lot of self-esteem issues that I had to overcome, because you say it long enough and you start to believe it, right? And so like I was always shitting on me. And then the other thing that I did get pretty snappy and quick, and I know you haven't really seen that from me, but like I am quick.
No, I know you're snappier and quicker than the average person.
But I used to be even better, and I think part of it is like the brain fog that has come with being a parent and all those other things. But like for a little while, I was like,
see, now we need to flip that. Part of it is because I'm so focused on being the best parent I can be and being a good father and husband that I don't always have the energy to be funny. See, gotta the positive. But no matter how ridiculous that scenario is,
I got quick enough. I got quick enough that in my 20s, I had the self-esteem issues. I think I solved a lot of that negative self-talk that I started as comedy. I think I talked about that the first year we did the podcast. I was like, I had to get rid of that voice. Like, that's how long it took me. I'm 42, so I'm 41, almost 42, so it would have been like 38 years old. And so it took me 25 years or so to get rid of that negative self-talk. And it's still a struggle sometimes. If I get really like it down or tired or whatever, like my brain defaults to it, right? But with the other thing that I got that snappy quickness. And in my 20s, the snappy quickness was too fast for me to consider repercussions and to consider like, is this the right circumstance? And so I did get into that mode of like, there were times where I was like, oh shit, I said that too quickly, I'm going to get fired, or I'm going to get my ass kicked, or I got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. What ends up happening sometimes though too, or at least for me, was people expected it from me, so I got away with more. Like me making the joke that someone else would have gotten fired for was an eye roll because, oh, but it's Matthew, he says shit like that.
I've always gotten away with more than your average person too. I think that is, and that's something that like,
what's the Jeselnik thing though? If you're funny enough, you're not being offensive, you're being funny, right?
Yes, there's that. But so the things that I would get in trouble for is like, so, and not always was it like, when I say quick and snappy, not always, it wasn't always like a smart, like there's two examples I can think of that really got that. One really like should have fucked me over, and I probably should have gotten fired for, which I am still very proud of. I got three examples. The first one is, so I was working at Verizon as a cell phone tech, and this is 17 years ago. So we're not talking about iPhones necessarily. We're talking about like flip phones and shit, and we were transferring data. That was part of our job. When you get a new phone, or
hour of transferring the data from one phone to another.
And so keep in mind also, this takes place in Massachusetts, the story. So I'm doing this data transfer, I'm doing all the work on this guy's phone, and he goes, "What is taking so long? It doesn't take this long." And I turned around immediately and said, "You don't have a fucking clue how long this takes. So just wait your turn," or whatever I said to him. So it definitely said fucking. I said, I definitely said you don't have a fucking clue. And then he goes, "Where's your manager?" I'm like, oh shit. So I go and I'm going to go get the cooler manager, like the manager who I'm likely to get in less trouble
increase
with.
Your chances of survival.
Yeah. So I go get him, and I bring him over, and him and the guy go over and talk while I finish up. finish up and I go, here you go, sir. And he goes, thanks, and leaves. And I said to
wait
the
for
manager,
the shoe to drop.
I'm like, or the manager goes, he goes, what did you say to that guy? And I was like, I'm not sure. What was his feedback?
What did he goes, think I said?
He goes, oh, he said that you do a good job and you don't let people walk all over you. And I was like, I got the one person on earth who would have that
who respected that you got up in his face and didn't take shit.
Yeah, like I got so lucky. So that was the first quick. The second one, okay,
that's really common with like type A marketing types, not necessarily the profanity part, but if you let them walk over you, they don't remember you exist. And if you meet their level of energy with the same level of energy, they're like, oh, that guy is really good. I really like working with him, because they don't see you if you're not as aggressive as them. Maybe not saying fuck you to them, but at least being as aggressive helps them know you exist.
Oh yeah. I was so lucky.
That was big at Glaxo for me. Like when I was an editor, I'm me. So I was I acted equal to the lawyer and the doctor and the marketing, MBA in the room, while other editors acted like a secretary taking notes, and they wondered why I got so many kudos and they got no kudos, even though they were better than me at their job, hands down. Technically, like you got to be seen, and I'm seeable.
So then, okay, this one is before that story, but I saved it because let me think. Should I tell this one last because it is the best story? Okay, so I'm going to tell that one last. So at Verizon, again, I'm at Verizon. I'm working with 3 of my female coworkers, women coworkers. The female is describing coworkers.
Adjective, so. Well used.
Okay, but I am also like getting sensitive
to saying that word.
I need to train myself out of using the word altogether, because I think I always use it or mostly correctly, but I also am aware that like we are, because it's used so negatively.
I don't think there's really an incorrect way to say it, because I think it is a noun as much as it's an adjective. It's just that people who like to use it as a noun aggressively are. It's like the word Jew.
It's like
Jew's not offensive except when a Klansman's saying it. So
it's like wearing a flag pin. There's nothing necessarily bad about that, but so many douchebags wear it.
But you're cosplaying as a douchebag when you do it.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm with three women coworkers. Yeah, I'm not Alex. I'm with these 3 women coworkers. One of whom I had a relationship with, but I can't remember if that was before or after this situation. And they're talking about breastfeeding. And one of them has a kid, one of them was pregnant, and the other one did not have a kid. The one that I had been with did not have a kid.
Not yet.
Yeah. And they're talking about breastfeeding, and they're getting into it, and they're like, I don't know. I just think it's kind of gross, because it's like, what if I got turned on while it's sucking on my nipple, blah, blah, blah. And the other, they're going back and forth with like, they're all anti-breastfeeding. And I said, well, they say, that babies who are, and keep in mind, I'm 23 and I'm not pulling facts.
You're not smart enough to leave this conversation now.
Yeah, I'm also not pulling well-researched information. I'm just throwing out random tidbits I've heard in the past, right? So I say,
I believe it's pronounced titbits.
Titbits, yeah. So I said, well, they say that women or babies that are breastfed are more intelligent than other babies, and they're like, all 3 of them were like, well, I wasn't breastfed, and I'm plenty intelligent. And I was like, well, I was breastfed, and I'm clearly smarter than all of you. and I said it so quickly, and I immediately regretted it. They were like, fuck you, you suck. Blah, blah. And I was like, yep, I hear it now. I hear it. So my last story,
just for the official position of talking about the big stuff, is there is no difference in children reared with or without breastfeeding. You do whatever is comfortable for you, moms. We took our first son to the pediatrician, maybe before Jacob was born, while he was pregnant, we were going to pediatricians, and they were doing tours and talking. And the one guy's like, I have 6 kids, because my wife's, situations at the time, 3 were breastfed, 3 are not. You cannot tell which are which. They all developed the same, are the same, got sick the same amount of times, no difference. The formulas are made to emulate breast milk, don't feel guilty if you can't or choose not to. They're the same. Yeah. Don't worry about it. So that is officially this stance of this half of I'm talking about the big stuff is don't listen to Mike.
Don't listen to 23-year-old Mike.
You can let people suck in your titties no matter what their age if you choose to.
Well, let's say no matter what their age.
I'm not telling you when to stop or which no kids, which kids to pick up. Hey, all listen, right. I had a really attractive babysitter when I was a kid. I wish she would have been willing to ignore the age difference.
Okay. Anyway, on to my third story. My third too quick for my own good comeback. And this one's a little bit longer of a story.
Mike's too quick. Mike's too quick to lick. Ooh, Mike's too quick. Mike's too quick to lick.
So I worked at Home Depot for a couple of years when I was 19 or 20. I guess I was 20. And I was working at the returns.
You worked there for a couple of years when you were 20. How long were you fucking 20 for?
20 to 21. But this takes place when I was 20, this particular story, because I know which store I was at which Home Depot. So I'm working at Home Depot, and I'm working the returns on one Saturday morning or Sunday morning. I think it was a Saturday. And that's not important to the story. I'm working on returns and this guy, I don't know, older guy to me at 20 years old. So
23.
Could have been 35. No, I think he was in his 50s or whatever, but he comes in with a lawnmower, not a lawnmower,
like that, like holding a lawnmower like that,
with a chainsaw, puts it on the counter, and he goes, "It's not working." And I'm like, you got to ask like, what's wrong?
I love this game.
So I pull the chain, and it like goes like a quarter inch back and just stops like. And he goes, "Yeah, it won't start." And I'm like, I'm like, "Okay, the engine seized." I'm like, "Did you put oil in it?" And he goes, "It doesn't need oil." And I'm like, "It needs oil. You have to put oil in it." And he goes, "No, it comes oiled." I'm like, "It comes with enough oil to not rust or not like deteriorate on the shelf, but you're supposed to put oil in for operation." And he goes, "No, it doesn't need oil. You just got to put gas in." And I'm like, "No." And so he goes, "Get your manager. If you're not going to return it, get your manager." So I get the manager. Okay, I'll return. We're going to return this for you this one time. It does need oil. Mike's right. You need to put oil in with the gas. So
evidence.
So he swaps it for the exact same. We have at least 3 of them for this story. He swaps it, comes back 2 or 3 hours later. "Did you put oil in it?" "No, I didn't put oil in it. It doesn't need oil." "It needs oil, sir. I promise you it needs oil."
See, this is where I would be like, "Are you fucking stupid?"
So he goes, get your manager. Like he's like, "I'm going to skip the whole process. Get your manager." Okay. Manager says, "This is the last time today, sir, that we're going to do this for you. You need to put oil."
Your manager sucks. He should just turn.
He should have. But this was during that, like the customer. We give the customer whatever they want because they're going to spend more than the cost of this thing in their lifetime. So we'll just keep them happy so they don't go to Lowe's. Essentially, that was the theory. It was Sam Walton came up with some theory about it, and they all were like, "Just Sam Walton." And so the manager tells him to come back late, or says, "Here's another one. This is the last one." Blah blah. 2 hours later, guy comes back, same thing, and I'm like, "Sir, you needed to put oil in it." And he goes, "It doesn't need oil. It comes oiled." And I'm like, "No." And he goes, get your manager." And I'm like, "I'm not getting my manager." I'm like, "You're not wasting more of our money. I mean, if I get my manager, maybe he'll say that you can have another one. And honestly, we've just wasted $400 on you. I'm not giving you another one." And he goes, "You're awfully, what did he said, you're awfully smart for a guy talking to a man with a chainsaw." And I said, "You can't fucking get it to work, dude." I'm like, don't threaten me with a chainsaw
enough to start a chainsaw.
Like, don't threaten me with a chainsaw you can't get going. And he just like chucked it on the floor and left because I refused to return it, and he didn't like my attitude. But anyway, so this is not an episode about how funny my life experiences have been. Instead, it's a story about things we want to improve about ourselves.
So I don't think that last one counted. It was funniest, but it also was like, no, that was the correct response. That wasn't a joke that slipped out. That was nice. was like, if you're too stupid to read the fucking directions when 2 people have told you twice and you've broken 2 things, you're too dumb to, when it comes back the third time, you're too dumb to safely operate a chainsaw. I would be abdicating my responsibility to let you walk out of here with a working chainsaw.
Yeah.
Unless you want to take your own head off, in which case, let me oil it up for you.
Anyway, so do you have anything that you want to improve? Right, you had mentioned that when you guys get back into the house, that you have some thoughts that you and Madhavi have
so
had a discussion
we, as a family, have been lazy about long-term changes we want to make to the house and stuff. Like, okay, this room has basically become a storeroom because, we're going to redecorate it. I think Joseph might move into his bedroom, but we'll do it eventually and keep just piling stuff. Not like we're hoarders. We're just like, we don't need this right now. Let's just throw it in that room because we all pull it out when we need it. It's acting like a storage unit. Yeah. Well, nice guitar back there.
Not your stuff, but that's what that's what this room has been for Sarah and Logan. Like Logan's fucking birthday balloon was in this room the other day. And I'm like, why? If you don't want it anymore, get rid of it.
Yeah. So we have done it equally as a family. I can't blame anyone. I'm as bad as anyone, we've done it. And here's what part of the reason we're going to be out of our house as long as we are, having had a fire in our house, is they have to go through so much shit. And we're like, they're going through the shit they're going to reimburse us for that has been sitting on the floor for 3 years. Like that's some things that are valuable that are there. They're like, but it's been sitting in a closet on the floor for a reason. It's been sitting on the 20% of the bedroom has been stuff just kind of pushed to the side. And they have to sort through all that and clean all of it or pay us for it. This is a wake-up call that we shouldn't have this much shit. We had always heard, not always heard, but we were aware that you shouldn't have furniture your pets can hide under. Because what if there's a fire and your pet is under the bed that you can't get under? Like you killed your pet by not having a pet-proof house. And we couldn't get 2 of our cats out from under a futon in Madhavi's office during the fire. Turned out the fire was upstairs. They were downstairs. It wasn't a life-threatening situation for them. But had it been, they were roasted kittens because I got mine out. She's right there. That's mine. Because I'm able to walk over to her and pick her up. The other 2 were like, oh no, we're being picked up, and ran and hid. And they knew we were freaking out because there was a fire in the house. So that was enough to make them hide. So now we're like, okay, Madhavi's like, I'm redecorating my room, taking the futon, it's gone. And like we're thinking like, okay, other furniture, there's barriers you can put under the furniture. Like they make pet safe things like you put under the furniture to block things from going under. But we're like, everything we buy for now is be something that cats can hide under and that we can block. Those are things that we put off doing, forever. Like all the time I was working from home, since 2020, I was in what was the storeroom. And I was like, I should clean this. I put a barrier up so you couldn't see it kind of. And I was like, I should clean this and make it my office. And then every weekend I was like, I don't want to do that. I got other stuff to do. And so we're going to rededicate ourselves to keeping the house in the condition that we want it to be. We don't want when friends come over to have to say to them, oh, ignore all these boxes. It doesn't normally look like this.
I was just about to say that to you, that's actually why we have not put everything away, is because you shove things in closets and then you don't touch it again. So we are being slow and meticulous about what we, the reason why all the shit is out is because.
And that's what we're wondering. Like when we get back, I don't know what the situation was when you got back, but like, how do they give us our stuff back that they've cleaned? Is it just going to be like boxes of stuff that came from this room? So that means we get to sort it at our own leisure and take it out and control. Like we just found out today that all of our mattresses are just being trashed. They're like they're going to smell like smoke. There's no way we can wash that smell out. And we found that they told us that earlier, but we were like, well, how do you pay us for those? Because mattresses are expensive. And what I was thinking, like if I crashed my car, they would say, well, your car's a 2017, whatever, it's worth $14,000. That's how much we'll pay you. We're not paying you for a new $30,000 car.
Yeah.
So I was worried that your mattress is old. You should have replaced it already anyway. You bought a mattress cover for it because you're lazy. And you're like, no, I bought a mattress cover because it's a king size mattress and getting it down the stairs would be hard. It's easier to cover it than to fight with it. But I just found out they're like, oh, well, we understand that they don't make the same models of mattress and mattress prices have doubled in the last 10 years. So, we will pay you for the average price for a mattress of the size you need.
Nice.
New. I'm like, okay, good. That takes a little load off. I mean, And so, because we were thinking we're going to have to replace all the mattresses, and they're probably going to give us, a prorated amount for each mattress. But I don't know. We're also thinking like, the mattresses that are usually behind me in my office, the bed that's behind me is platform bed that was made for me when I was 13, and the mattresses that are on it are custom sized mattresses that I've had since I was 13. They were custom made, super firm mattresses that are still super firm. Well, now they're garbage, I guess. But and we put like a full size mattress topper on them. It doesn't quite fit it, but it makes it into like a like a full size bed for when the kids visit. Jacob and Marwa visit. But now I'm like, okay, you know what? If they're going to pay us for 2 twin size mattresses, which is the closest thing that is non-custom, we should get like just a day bed high rise kind of thing where slides out, pops up, that uses regular mattresses, so we don't get screwed like this in the future that you have to have custom mattress. Like, let's change that room. We don't need a big queen size bed in that room. It's my office. It needs a bed convert it to a guest room. It doesn't need to be there all the time. Let's design it right this time.
Yeah.
But so it's a definite, we need to get our butts in gear about staying on each other, like riding each other.
Yeah.
Why is your room a mess? Why is this a mess? And why is this not being put away properly?
Yeah. We want to say,
we used to have parties just to incentivize ourselves to clean the house. Like people are coming over, we have to clean. That's the reason to have a party.
Yeah. But for us, a lot of times that meant like shove everything in the master.
Right. Well, that happens too. It doesn't. Then it becomes like, honey, where is this? I don't know. I'm like, well, where would you think it belongs? If you were moving it, where might you move it to?
Yeah. So we just you guys aren't moving. You didn't move everything out, so I don't know how different your experience
they have to
will
repaint
be.
the entire house, so they've been packing everything up and moving it out to storage and then moving it back in, because everything in our room at least had to go because they were doing the carpets. But they're repainting the entire house, so everything's being bundled up and moved around, and everything upstairs is being cleaned. Like each item is being hand cleaned or sent to a cleaner. Yeah.
When we did the move back in, they did this. They brought in all the boxes. They just put them in the room, and it was such a pain in the ass because we had all the stuff at the Airbnb. We had a storage unit, but we were like, we can just keep the storage unit as long as we need to, which we only got rid of 2 weeks ago. But the boxes, like Logan's room, you couldn't walk into Logan's room. So I was taking boxes out into the hallway, sorting, going, okay, I don't know, for later. And then, okay, this one I know where to put it. I know, like, you start with the things like you can hang, these were in the storage unit, but like you try to figure out where, okay, I don't know if you can see it right now, but there's a bookshelf right there. So I unpacked all the boxes of books and just started shoving them on, onto the bookshelves. And like, it is so overwhelming because you're literally digging. It's like if you have a sink full of dishes and you're like, okay, well, they're all kind of half filled with water from the thing or whatever. I now need to dig this hole without making a mess outside the hole and getting the dishes. It's that same thing, but it's your entire house.
Yeah.
And then getting rid of, okay, well,
we have
how much cardboard or of the filler paper and fluff is there in this box? Is this box a box where if I pull, there were boxes, especially depending on like lamps, where the lamp would take up a quarter of the box, but it was covered in. So it's like space-wise, it makes a lot of sense to get rid of that one first because the lamp takes up this much space, the box takes up this much space. And, but then there's others like the books, even though I could get rid of the books quickly and easily, the books, there was no extra room. They weren't,
didn't help to put the books away.
Right.
Yeah,
it only helped by getting them off the floor and getting them out, getting the box off the floor, but it didn't like reduce the size impact.
I mean, I was going to say the advantage we have over you is that, Sarah works a hard full-time job and you're taking care of everything. And you have a kid that's in school. You have so much more going on at home to have to do all the work of unpacking and reorganizing. And you can't make all the executive decisions without talking to your wife when you say, well, maybe we should fix this and move this to a different spot.
Yeah.
And she's working at home a lot of the time too, right? So you can't make noise doing it either. So you're just in a shitty spot to recover. At least we're in a spot where it's like, we're not working. Joseph and Leah work their jobs part-time, whatever they're doing. But when they're home, we could be all working together and without a deadline to get it done too. Like our goal is going to be to kind of like dieting should be a change in how you eat. Like approach this systematically and correctly, not just try to get through it fast and have it be messy because we just shove stuff in a closet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully that works out. And like we're talking about, we have a bonus room kind of over the garage kind of thing that's large. And we're like, maybe that just be Joseph's bedroom. Instead of him having a regular 10 by 11 bedroom, give him this 10 by 20 bedroom that, can be a bedroom and little living room area, like make it a nicer spot for him, and then his bedroom just becomes a guest room, instead. So like we can work towards those changes as we go. We've already been to the furniture store once because Madhavi actually wants to replace the furniture in her woman cave to be completely different than what it is now, so it's not so cat dangerous.
I like she shed. I know it's not a shed because it's not outside the house, but like woman cave sounds like you're too embarrassed to say vagina. And
yeah, that's what I keep talking to her about too. It's like it's so damp in the woman cave. Well,
the man cave sounds like what is it that Borat used to say? My back pussy.
So actually, the name of the Madhavi's room is actually Rivendell because it's all Lord of the Rings, decorated and stuff. So when we told them that at Haverty's, they were like, "Oh, that sounds so cozy! Like that's what we're going for. We want the cozy." So like she's going to get like they call it a chair and a half. It's bigger than a living room chair, but smaller than a love seat. It's like in between, like. Too small for two people to comfortably really sit, but for one person could pull their legs up and curl up and have extra room kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's going to be like her main chair, and then probably a round one, and then another round chair that's more, normal size for me or Leah being in the room with her. But we want it to be very, very designed that it's her space and we are in it, but it's her space.
Yeah. That's my eventual goal is after we're done sorting out all the shit in the house, I want to do the same thing in the garage and really pare down the garage. And I want to make the garage the studio, like start putting up soundproofing pads, and I know that they're limited, but like it would need something insulation wise anyway, and make that the studio, make that where I record and work and have this be Sarah's office for work. Because right now she has like the corner of the living room. And we made it nice for her last year was it for her birthday? I'm forgetting what I did it for, but we made it nice for her, like, and gave her a little more extra space. And it's gotten it a little bit better because we got rid of the big couch in this whole move. But ultimately, I would like for her to have like a space where she could.
Yeah. Getting rid of the bed in my office where I'm like, what it means? I have a really big desk that I've had since I moved to North Carolina. I went to like a furniture rental place and bought used furniture. And this giant size 1980s desk is still the desk I use. I'm like, get rid of that and have half the size. And then we can get one for her and we can both have desks in that office. So if we're doing the pod, obviously she wouldn't be in the office using her desk, but during the day we can both be in there and actually spend time together while, we're working on stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make it a dual office.
Sarah wants her area to be able for Logan to play his games while she works. Like she partly play his computer games. Partly the reason she wants that is if it's not in his room, he doesn't just go disappear for it. And also we can like monitor a bit because like he gets, he gets overwhelmed with, guys, I'm trying, like to his friends and stuff. And so, right now there's her desk, the couch, and then his desk in the living room. And that works too because, he could throw headphones in if he wants to do something while we're watching TV at night. But ultimately, I think she wants...
it's good not let him make his room his place where he lives 24/7.
Right. Well, and we got him a big desk a year and a half ago for Christmas with his laptop, his new, not laptop, his computer, his desktop. And it was so big that it was like, oh, there's no room for anything in your room.
Yeah. And that's why I want to move Joseph, because Joseph's an adult, but he's at home. So I want him we want to move him into the bonus room so that it can be, you don't have to sit on your bed when you're in your room. Like you could have a love seat or a sofa. It's a big enough room for both. Probably. Like he can have a sofa and love seat in one half of the room and a bed on the other half and still have plenty of room. So like TV in a living room section and a sleeping section. There's no closet in that room, unfortunately, because it wasn't meant to be a bonus. So, but we're like, we can build a wardrobe, thing and just put a curtain in front of it. And we can make that work.
Yeah. Nice.
That's what can separate the bedroom from the living room, is a closet coming up 90 degrees from a shelf structure 90 degrees from the wall.
Yeah. Perpendicular is what a lot of people call it.
It could be.
Do you have anything though, like internally?
I don't care about myself enough. I mean, I got a lot of shitty things, but I just don't give a shit. And if I'm going to be dead soon, it's a little late to start changing shit. So I'm just like, yeah, I don't have any motivation. That's why I quit my job. It's easier than trying to make myself more motivated.
Yeah.
It's easier to give into it.
Spoken like a true Gen Xer.
I don't care what you think.
Oh, I can't remember who it was, but at the Brooklyn Film Festival, there was somebody who was like, as a Gen X, and I was like, oh, this is like Matthew could give this spiel. Like, I can't remember what it was, but I was like, oh yeah, I've heard this before.
It's funny because, back when everyone was Gen X, at one time that I interacted with, when I was like in college, it was, well, as a New Yorker. Well, okay, yeah. No, that's not good. Okay, well, as a Jew, no, that's not good either. As an atheist Jew, there must be something I can blame my personality on that's not everybody around me.
Yeah. As the child of hippies.
Yeah. And then a lot of it is that, though. That one's fair.
Yeah.
Did you know that not everyone's father sits around playing music and learning new songs every day? I didn't know that until I was like 13 or 14. Yeah. I said it wasn't normal to have your father at 6 a.m. Like you wake up to him trying to learn a new song, and and telling you that it's important that no matter whatever you do in life, you also do what makes you happy, even if it can't be your job. Like do comedy and podcasts, even if you have a day job. Like yeah. I didn't know that not everybody had a dad who lived that example and said it for you.
Yeah, my dad did always kind of say like to follow your dreams, but in like he was more supportive of the movie of like my dream of being a filmmaker than a lot of the rest of my family. But the way he was supportive, and this is the way he could be supportive, he'd be like, well, if you go become a lawyer, you could become an entertainment lawyer, and aren't those like sometimes producers? And like, so like he was like, a lawyer is a good fallback, yeah. And a lawyer will serve you well.
You could be in the industry,
right? It like, and he's so like, it wasn't like, oh, that's a stupid dream, abandon it. It was more like, here's a thing that I think is grounded in some like good sense and can get you close to where you want to be, which I think of as being pretty supportive compared to a lot of other people.
Right. It wasn't grow up. It was just, yeah.
Right. It wasn't like, that's fine.
Yeah, my dad who was a musician by night and weekend. So he was like, yeah, you can have whatever job you want. If it's art's great. If it's not, you can still do arts when you're not at your job. Like it's not like you have to give up your dream to do something else. And he was
unless
very
your
much
dream is pornography.
It's he was very into pornography, so that was cool.
But a lot of people can't do the day job and pornography. Especially if you're like a teacher or something. Yeah. It doesn't go well.
I'll tell you about the time I was out at Hooters in Morrisville, near the airport.
You did.
With a coworker. And he ran into his kid's kindergarten teacher, and he lived like 5 towns over. And she thought she was far enough away from home that she wouldn't run into your parents. And he's like, "We all work in RTP. Like this is where we all work."
Hooters. I told Sarah that story, but I thought you said it was a strip club.
No, it's just Hooters.
Ran into okay. That's actually less.
Yeah, that's where I went at lunch. I didn't go to the strip club at lunch from work. Yeah. I went to Hooters. Yeah, it was Hooters.
Imagine running into your kid's teacher and they're a stripper, though.
Yeah.
They're giving you the lap dance. You're like, so if I give you a 20, is he passing? Like,
do you know the joke about guys in a bar and this woman comes over, this really attractive woman comes over and says, "Excuse me, I think you're the dad of one of my kids." And he goes, "Holy shit. Oh my God, are you that stripper from that bachelor party, the one I fucked on the pool table? Holy shit, I know I should have used the condom. Oh my God." And she's like, no, I teach 3rd grade. I think your kid's in my class. You're the father of one of my kids.
That's on her, honestly, that wording.
That's on her.
This episode was not about about this topic. That's fine. This is like
it was somewhat about it.
It was like more of a lead in for talking about the small stuff. It was just like a talking about the big stuff lead into a talking about the small.
It was changes. We're both trying to make it an old age. You're trying to be more control over your big fat mouth, and because so here's the thing. I think it's interesting about your issue is that it's not, as one might assume, I make shitty jokes and say shitty things about my wife and don't appreciate her. and I need to stop. It's not that. It's I make jokes and I don't think about it whether it's appropriate to make the particular joke at the time. It's not like you ride on your wife as a negative thing per se. It's just that
sometimes
you don't. I mean, like some of the jokes are in that vein, but it's not like all your humor comes from there. It's just that you don't edit what joke comes out of your mouth often. And sometimes the joke that shouldn't have come out of your mouth, but it's not like it's all your jokes. It's not like you have a horrible view of your wife and family and you present it to the world. It's like you're willing to make either joke. And sometimes when you make the joke, you're then like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that where I am. So there is a censoring that you're trying to learn to do better.
That's fair.
But it's not that you're a piece of shit and you're trying not to be a piece of shit. Like that's not the case.
One thing over the last few years that I've noticed that I think kind of plays into this is, like I said, I come from a complainy, like a sense of humor that's complainy culture. You know, my family, New England, the whole thing. And I think that was how I was a lot of times at work. It was like, oh, work, right? You know, and sometimes, especially like, the things I've been through over the last 2 years with work. I guess it was 3 years now. It was there was a point at which that typical like Mondays suck.
At some point, you actually meant it, and that made it different.
Right, and it made me sound bitter, and I probably was bitter, and it made me really, it affected things, and I don't want that to ever happen. And I think that's part of it is like I've become aware of that, especially as I started taking the right medicine and I was dealing with my mental health. I was, I had a friend from that last job who also had left that job before me. She texted me one day and was like, oh, I'm thinking about suing. And you should think about it too. And I'm like, I'm done with that place and I'm doing so much better mentally that while I don't mind talking about it. I don't want to go
back and live in that place in my head again.
Yeah. I don't want to feed into that side of it. I don't mind talking to you about it, but I don't want to feed. And then I was like, okay, that's a healthy way of looking at it. But I also it took a lot of intervention on my part and in a lot of ways to get there.
Yeah.
And
you've been doing that work actively for the last 4 years. Yeah.
Right. But what I now am aware though, with that perspective is that gradual, I loved that job at first and I would probably joke about it, oh, work, right. At the beginning. And then at a certain point I lost track of where the joking was replaced with serious. And I don't want that to be the case with Logan or with Sarah or my parents, and so I need to be, that's another reason why I need to be more intentional with my, I need to be not using them as a punchline, even in ways that I think in the moment on an isolated basis are harmless. Because it's, your life isn't an isolated basis.
The yes and, positive joke thing is helpful thing because it gives you something to do rather than something to avoid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And it's funny because I was thinking when you were talking about that, I'm like, what do I say? What did I say when people said, how are things going at work? And I realized that my main joke was, and you may have heard me say it times, peachy keen Nito. I did the George Carlin thing of use the old terms like peachy keen and Nito and stuff like that. Because it was like, I don't have to talk to you about what I really think about being at work, good or bad. Yeah. But it was a fun thing. Oh my God, I haven't heard Peachy Keen in 20 years. And that was always my go-to, it still is my go-to response on how things are going. Except the other day I was talking to my brother's financial advisor who's my mother's financial advisor, because there's some money that my dad's estate inherited. Someone else's estate found more money that was earmarked for my dad, so I had to get it through the estate. So as executor, I was getting it and then transferring it to my mom because it's hers really. And my financial advisor, every time we start a call with him, he's like, how are you doing in this crazy, crazy world of ours? And we're like, oh, we're doing okay. And he goes like, how are you? And he goes, oh, as good as can be inspected. Like that's his response. Like as good as can be. So I'm on the call with my brother and my mother's financial advisor. My brother's on the call. And he says, so how are you doing, Matthew? And I'm sitting here in this Airbnb because my house burned down. And I don't know this guy, so I'm not going to talk to him about it. My house didn't burn down. My house had a fire. But, he's I'm not going to talk to him about it. So I went, well, as good as can be expected in this crazy, crazy world of ours. I'm quoting my financial wealth manager to this wealth manager.
Yeah.
it was fun for me instead of saying my usual peachy. And here's this from a comedy standpoint. If people push me on the peachy and like they don't accept that as the final answer, I say I'm kind of soft and fuzzy on the outside, but if you get past all the mush, inside is just a deep, hard pit. So I did get to the negative, dark humor because I can have a dark side if you want me to.
Yeah. Whoopee!
Whoopee! Yippee, motherfucker! Yippee! I can have a dark side. Yippee!
Yeah.
The rest of you will just have to find that on the internet yourself. Figure it out. Yeah. Find out what we're referencing. Because for a change, it ain't Carlin.
It is not. But I will say that.
But it rhymes like Carlin, sort of. The ends part. It both ends with IN.
Yeah. Okay. The vaguest of rhymes.
Hey, I'm an improviser. If you come close, it's a rhyme.
Uh-oh.
You don't have time to find a perfect rhyme.
But yeah, so I think that being intentional is an important part for me about this because I think like, you know, you kind of said it with the Peachy Keen Nito thing, which is like we get into routines and auto responses, and because you have to, you know, it's that thought of like when you drive home.
Nobody really cares how you're doing today. You have to have an answer that keeps the conversation moving.
Right. But also like you think about when you drive home from work the way that you do every day, you know, 30 minutes or whatever. There's times when you space out and you did all the right things. You drove all the right ways.
How the hell did I get home? Did I hit any red lights? I don't even remember if I hit a red light. Oh my God. Did I stop?
Right. There's parts of our lives where we're on autopilot, and that's
I call
okay.
That it's 1978 to now.
Yeah. To be expected. It's to be expected that we're going to be on autopilot in certain moments, but ultimately you do need to, like, there are moments where you go, okay, crap. I need to look at where I'm at and make sure, you know, you may find this after you leave the Airbnb, like when especially because we're in the same neighborhood, so maybe you won't find this, but the first 3 or 4 days back in this house, I drove to the Airbnb if I went out to do something, like, or I'd start to drive to it. Now it was like a block. It's like literally like
turn left or turn right at that one corner. Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't that big of a deal, but like we need to like inspect those things in our lives and kind of go, okay, well, this isn't serving me. I need to be conscientious until the new autopilot takes over. And then I may need to inspect that later on down the road because, you know, that the autopilot of like, I'm going to shit talk Mike because if I do it, nobody else will do it. Eventually that starts off and, you know, and then eventually
except most people go, oh, if Mike's saying it about Mike, that's permission for us all to say it about Mike.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what happened, but I never got bullied about. Like, I never got like people getting real intense.
At least you felt they were doing the same level you were. You were on the same page.
Right. And that served me well for a little while, and then also, I didn't evaluate.
You may not have known it at the time, but high school doesn't bully as much as middle school. And middle school is where the bullying really is. The high school, the bullies are starting to outgrow more aggressive bullying, and it's just making
100%.
Fun. Yeah,
100%. And now I know that because I so many people have said the same thing to me about like, oh yeah, I thought middle school was the worst. And I'm like, yeah, and you know, 12-year-olds are the like most evil little people.
Their empathy hasn't grown as much as their ability to cause pain, and you start getting a little more empathy when you get a little older.
Yeah. And so like,
and then when they get older, they realize, oh wait, their parents did divorce because they hate them, and you know, it's just different.
Yeah. But it served me well for a while. And so I now, having seen that, you know, having gone through that and fixed that after 25 years and having gone through the, you know, thing at work and said like, oh, I was being too negative at first because I thought it was funny. And then eventually it was feeding the negativity. And, you know, as much as there was some actual bad things going on at that job, there was a lot of it that was me being overly negative too. Like I could have been better in a lot of ways. And so that now the most important part of my life, the two most important parts of my life, it's my relationship with Sarah and my relationship with Logan and the number 3, which is the relationship with you. I need to, like, I haven't given those the thought. I haven't given those the intentionality that I've given those other pieces. And it's like, okay, I need to do that. And so that's
the one thing that shouldn't be on autopilot and is the easiest thing to be on autopilot is how you behave at home. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's tough too, because it is, if I tell someone at work, fuck you, I could get fired. I could tell Sarah, fuck you, and she could leave or divorce me potentially, but like, you're going to be more forgiving typically, and at least for a while in a relationship. We always
yell at the kids about that is, don't talk to your sibling in a way you wouldn't talk to your coworker.
Yeah.
And, but you would never say that to your coworker, no matter what they said to you. You might quit your job over it, but you wouldn't respond the way you just did to your brother or to your sister.
Right. But there is that level of like, well, like Sarah could say something to me that's absolutely worse than anybody else could, and I'm still going to love her.
Probably a little more because you're a cuck.
I mean, I'm not a cuck, but I do love a good mean girl.
I do love being demeaned a little bit.
She's always like, you're really weird. Like, if we're in the grocery store, you're like really frisky, or if I'm mean, you're.
Madhavi always yells at me for that, and I'm like, because the only time you walk shaking your ass in front of me is in the grocery store. You don't do that in the house. How long we won't walk that? So I got to grab it. Not my fault.
Yeah.
And when the kids get mad when you always groping at mom, I'm like, you know what? You should be so fucking happy you're in a family where your parents are still groping at each other. Yeah. Because the alternative is you're spending one weekend at my house, one weekend at our house. Like, that's where not groping leads to in a couple of years.
Yep. Yeah. We watched, so I told you we've been watching Modern Family with Logan. And there's an episode where the kids go to bring breakfast in bed to Claire and Phil, and they walk in on them fucking. And as the episode progresses, there's a point where all the kids kind of go, well, I guess it's better than my friends whose parents are getting divorced. And so like we turned that into like, that is a good lesson that they taught, that it's nice that their parents love each other, even though that's an awkward, weird thing.
So you don't want to find out that way. But when we were telling the boys,
it was doggy style too, which is hilarious because the way that the gag works, she pulls up the blanket as the camera comes around the corner, but they're very clearly in doggy style.
In that position. So,
yeah.
But it's like when the kids we were talking about, like, babies come from, you get the gradual repeated conversations. And at one point, Jacob stops and he goes, wait, so when your door is closed in the middle of the day and I knock on it and you don't come and open the door, does that mean? And he trailed off. And we're like, yes. And he goes, I may not knock on your door anymore. There you go. That's why it's closed.
That's going to be for patrons.
It's worth the money, folks.
Yeah. And with that note,
it really needs to come out of like an edit of, and that's for patrons. That's for patrons. Like,
I will. I think I've done that a few times where I go, yeah. Especially if I have a clean cut, like we just did. Like afterwards, we have not made reference to what the joke was, or
wasn't a joke.
Well, you're right. It wasn't a joke. It was. I mean, my response.
We don't have to ruin the patron. Patrons know. The patrons know. And if you're not a patron, it's not hard to find out. You know what? Like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. But if I were you, if you were watching like our YouTube videos and you're like, oh, I wonder what they said on the YouTube video, you should subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell and indicate to YouTube that you want our videos by liking and commenting on videos. Go watch a bunch of them and like and comment on them. And then YouTube will tell you when we go live. Like today, we're recording on a Tuesday, not our usual Monday. So you have to have notifications on, the bell on, so that you'd be able to watch an unedited stream live and you wouldn't have to be a patron to hear those jokes. But if you can't watch our live streams, there is a way to become a patron and get those jokes.
Yeah. So you can go on to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff, where you can find 4 options. You can subscribe for free, and that just gives you updates as to when things are coming out. And you can listen to the episodes the way you would on any other, platform. Watch or listen to them, like you would on YouTube or Spotify or whatever. $1 option gives you early access. The $3 option gives you some of those things that we just cut out of the episode. And then the $10 option gives you all the intros and stuff before we actually fully get into the episode. So a lot of times it's off topic. It's talking about the small stuff. It's, today we talked about Graham Plattner and our semi-informed Graham Plattner hot takes. So there's all of that. And a lot of times it's more fun than that. But if
what's more fun than talking about a fucking Nazi?
Or maybe not a Nazi, depending on...
You have to go become a patron to find out what our stance is.
So that's patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. You should go over there either way and just do the free subscription if you're not interested in anything else, because it helps us. It helps the algorithm. Obviously, we told you subscribing and liking and commenting here, it helps us. But ultimately, if you want to see some of that extra stuff, which we have a lot of extra stuff on our Patreon.
Yeah, and the charge is monthly, not episodically. So $1 is $1 a month. It's $12 a year. That's not even a cup of coffee at Starbucks for the year. And that's
52 episodes a year for $12 a year. So
maybe 52. We take some weeks off. Sometimes shit happens.
Fair, true. Anyway, so like we said, like and subscribe. Go to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. And Matthew, do you have any last thoughts?
Before Alex chimes in, I just want to say thank you all for being here to talk about the big stuff. If you'd listened to the whole thing, you're a better man than I am, Gunga Din, but only because I'm a rabbit.